Hi there, welcome to the new Presgrove case. Today, this is to show proof that Alicia Lee, Kaden's mum, was wrong about her statement claim and on behalf of Kaden Pressy, who supposedly claimed that Texas boys had left before 2:30 because there is hard evidence and proof to say that they, or at least some, were still present around that time onwards. So it makes you wonder, when the people talk, do they really know what they're referring to? Are they making it up? Have they made a simple mistake, an error? And if so, what else could they be wrong about? We're going to break it down today with the original comment by Alicia, analyse it, make sense, show you the proof and evidence to say that there was still activity from Texas boys with hard evidence to some extent, and as well to acknowledge what Robin Smith had said previously when it came to what she was told by police or an investigator, and we'll tie it all up. And then if there is time, I'll probably look at the comment section from the video that I did last night or the night before, 2 days ago. Kind of blew up in responses and so on, trying to understand all that, what's going on, as what's not been seen before but what has, and the debacle there. Don't go anywhere. Welcome if you're currently watching the live premiere. You can share your live reactions in the chat box on the right side of the screen. And at any point, and those watching on catch up, feel free to drop a comment down below and I can respond to that later, just like I will be doing in today's video. If you want to support my channel, there is a pinned message in the comments with a PayPal link to me and channel membership here. If you want to catch up on recent coverage on the case of Noah Presgrove and some loose videos too, you'll find that available top right corner where the I symbol is up there. With that being said, the order of how we'll do it, we're going to get straight into what Alicia had previously said and analyse from there. As you see on screen, highlighted in the red boxes, these are the points of interest. Have done a video previously where some of these comments were acknowledged but didn't go in as deep because I said it was for a separate video. Zooming in, making it easier for you, Alicia stated, and that's about roughly 1 year ago. You'd think that earlier on it was said there might be more truth to it because of the memory recollections. As time goes on, you might forget or make mistakes. And yet Alicia said the Texas boys left before 2:30 in the morning on Monday. Is that so? Jennifer, okay, so in fact I just never seen anyone in the videos that hasn't been identified, so just wanted to clarify, and it wasn't a made-up story or fabricated to throw people off. I know there has been a lot of inconsistencies with other stories, but everything your son has said thus far I believe to be the most truth to anything. Well, that aged well. Alicia's follow-up, yes ma'am. Kaden Pressy said there were guys from Texas there. They came to the birthday party, which would imply Monday because that's when the birthday actually was. You can see them in the background of some of the Snapchat videos. However, Kaden said they were gone before he went to sleep. Now, depending what truth there is to that, as in when Kaden went to sleep, because Kaden said in a private conversation, DM, he went to sleep at 11:30 p.m. Sunday night. And then later Kaden said in his interviews he went to sleep at 2 in the morning. So, as it's mentioned here, Kaden said they were gone before he went to sleep. And that's so, gone before 2 in the morning. Even though Alicia says here the Texas boys left before 2:30, which can mean anything before 2:30. And Kaden said he went to sleep at 2. So we're saying like 1 in the morning, 1 to 1:50 in the morning when the Texas boys had left. The earlier they leave, the more innocent they become. And that would be a good thing just based on that. The earlier they leave, the less likely they're involved in Noah's death, or just less likely in knowing what's really up or what happened. And it could kind of rule out the whole Noah getting to the back of a pickup vehicle and then Texas boys leaving and then driving off unknown, and then Noah falling out the back. So you can see how of an important knock-on effect it can have in the case. But as said, how true is it what Alicia says on behalf of how she was influenced by what Kaden Pressy said? And whilst Alicia may only be passing stuff on, it tends to be her doing most of the talking and not Kaden. And even Kaden previously, when we've seen some screenshots or on behalf of screenshots when it's been summarised, Kaden wished that his mom and dad would kind of cut it out at times instead of always speaking for Kaden, because it causes more problems or Sam. Now, with that being said, we'll just move on to the proof. So this is a screenshot from a video which you've already seen, and it was uploaded onto my channel. And it's a video which appears to be a raw video from the default gallery on the phone, the iPhone. And it shows a Texas boy known as Pepe Guam, who's been identified previously. Pepe Guam, a Texas boy. And I think there's a small chance that Kaden Pressy, in one of his private DMs, which I summarised to you, made a reference to this guy in the background of one of the shots. It was the 10:50 p.m. one, Sunday night, when Kaden was panning around the room, and in the background you had some Texas boys, including Pepe Guam, and it was circled in a Facebook convo screenshot. And Kaden said, oh, this guy, this person, I had bad feelings about him, and I do have bad feelings about him, like, in the moment. Did Kaden say that this person was responsible, though, for Noah's death? No. But for Kaden to say he had possible bad feelings towards this individual, as in something wasn't right, something may have been wrong, this person could have a dark side, that's quite interesting, because Kaden didn't really bring it up any other time, or didn't really bring it up public, so maybe it was just an opinion then. But nevertheless, Pepe Guam seen here. And what's so significant about it when countering what Alicia/Kaden had said? Texas boys leaving before 2:30. It just so happens that this raw video with the timestamp attached, as you see there, and it's not quite clear, as you see here, September 4th, 2023 at 2:32 a.m. You might wonder why it says home. That could be the name of the default gallery in which, well, not default gallery, a custom gallery in which photos, videos have been added to, or it just might be a personalised thing on mobile. Basically, the person's phone here belongs, I guess, to one of the party girl hosts for them to live there and to refer to it as home. I could be wrong. It's just you associate home with the location of the party house, and if it's a party girl's phone who's from that home, you could consider it that. I could be wrong as for whose actual phone it is. I'm going to guess Logan Jernigan's, but I could be wrong. Nevertheless, September 4th, the Monday, at 2:32 a.m. That's really significant, that, because 2 minutes before that, Alicia had said they were already gone before 2:30, maybe 10 minutes before 2:30, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour earlier, they were gone. And when Kaden went to sleep, which was 2 a.m, they were nowhere to be seen. Now, you could argue and say maybe some of the Texas boys left earlier, but not all of them. And how Alicia words it, Texas boys does not give an exact number, so you could interpret it as all of them. More than one for sure, because there's an S on boys, but no true percentage. And as for how many Texas boys were present in total at the party, that's kind of unknown of, which is unfortunate. But the fact that there is hard evidence to show at least a Texas boy still present at the house at a time when Kaden was asleep, 11 minutes, this being 11 minutes before when Kaden was woken up by Alicia at 2:42 to announce the news of Georgia being picked up on the way back going home. So unknown to Kaden at the time, there was still at least a Texas boy present, but just outside, I guess, hanging about. And then when Kaden went back off to sleep, whether that be 3 a.m, whether that be 3:20, depending which timeline you look at from the interviews, next time Kaden woke up would have been, in his eyes, 5:15. In other people's eyes, 6 a.m. onwards. Were Texas boys long gone by then? I guess so. If anyone knows the true time of when all Texas boys had left, that'd be appreciated. There was that particular comment that time from my memory where supposedly Stevie Howard said Texas boys had left, or some, just after Noah Presgrove walked away, and that was at 3:30. So it won't align with what Alicia's saying here, or on behalf of what Kaden has said. You can see it's a bit of a messy situation. And yeah, this could be old, it's in the past. Was it ever cleared up? Me personally, I'm not too sure. I don't think it was. And if it has been, I've not seen a clear conscious effort to show those screenshots or repost archives. This came up in recent time, and when reading through it, in the past, I wouldn't have thought too much about it. But ever since we've learning about this video clip, and it being a Texas boy identified, it clearly shows that Alicia is wrong. It shows that Kaden Pressy is supposedly wrong from what he said. And this is what's needed to clear up the confusion along the way in the case. So hopefully that makes sense there. And in terms of what was previously said at some point in the past, one of John Fiorillo's posts, Robin Smith, said the LE did tell me that Texas boys had been cleared. I don't remember which podcast we talked about it on or when exactly, but they were cleared. And from the podcast which I'm aware of, it wouldn't have been mentioned in the Partisan True Crime one, I don't think. Probably in the earlier days when I wasn't around myself. But to say Texas boys implies all of them, right? It doesn't say some, a couple, most, just Texas boys the same way as Alicia words it. So they've been cleared, that would be a positive. And it's said on behalf by one of the victim's family members, so you'd hope to believe in it too. A follow-up by Jan was, do you know if they meant all of the Texas boys that were present at the time, or if any additional Texas boys had been identified since they told you this? Robin's response to Jan, there were 5 in total. They knew of them all at the time. Right. So is that true? You know, for people on the dark side, people in between, and those that may be closer to partygoers and know about who was there and who wasn't, is it true that there was only 5 Texas boys present? Only 5 at the party, and all of them were cleared? Because if so, then it's kind of eye-opening. What we can do to some extent is just to highlight the importance through the map analysis visually when it does come to Texas boys and their presence at the party. So basing it on what Alicia said and on behalf of Kaden supposedly, even though it's kind of been partially debunked or countered to say that she's wrong, to some extent at least, if there was any truth to it originally, it would kind of rule out the concept of Noah walking away and getting into the back of a vehicle. And you might wonder how exactly. So if you combine it with what Robin Smith had said, there was 5 Texas boys in total, and that was supposedly all of them. And they were also all cleared as well from the case. Well, it just happened that Jack Newton said there was 5 to 6 passengers with the side-by-side rollover. So those two linked together, indirect, that when Noah Presgrove was driving the side-by-side, the 5 to 6 passengers just so happened to be Texas boys. And it just so happens that Robin Smith said a Texas boy was injured, busted lip or something, during the side-by-side rollover. So we kind of cleared that up, not officially with hard evidence, but to some extent with common sense, if you get what I'm saying. 5 Texas boys in total from what Robin says on behalf of police. Jack says 5 to 6 passengers, side-by-side rollover. Robin says one of the passengers was injured and it was a Texas boy, likely Texas boys. But what does that link onto with Noah? As in, if before 2:30, you could even say before 3:30, if Texas boys had left, all 5 of them, did they all come separately in vehicles? Did some come in pairs? Did they all come in one vehicle? I wonder. If they had all left and all their vehicles had left too, it would mean that at 3:30, when Noah does walk away, supposedly heading east, the theory concept of Noah getting tired or wanting to rest in the bed of a pickup truck, which just so happens to be one of the Texas boys, climbing into the back, falling asleep, it just wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be possible if the Texas boys had left earlier. Their vehicles would not be there. And if there's no vehicles there, then Noah isn't able to climb into the back of them or a vehicle to rest. Like, The only vehicles that remained were those of partygoer friends and familiar faces. And if Noah was to fall out the back of one of those vehicles, it would mean one of the partygoer familiar faces would have had to have driven off from the party heading north, and then Noah falling out that way. They could still be clueless and oblivious to Noah being in the back, but in terms of the named individuals that we're aware of, at least, they remained at the party up until a certain point post-death of Noah Presgrove, to my knowledge. I mean, just to do like a little recount of who was at the party to my knowledge, put aside the Texas boys for a second. You had Mikey, Brylan, Isaac, Kaden, Jack, you had Jasmine. I don't know about Stephanie Millan, what time she left them. You got Carter, Avery, Logan, Jasmine, if I haven't already said the name already. So there's a handful of people, I think maybe like 10 or 12 people. Let's just say there was 10 people. Let me just double check, because I'm sure it was worded by someone there was 15 people at the party on the Sunday, Monday, or more so on the Monday. If that's not including Brealey, Georgia, when they've left after that point. Because what I'm getting at is, let's say if you just round it down to about 10 people. I'll just double check again. Logan, Carter, Avery, Jasmine, Jack, Kaden, Isaac, Brylan, Mikey, and if you used to include Noah, that's at least 10 people at the party. I might have missed out the odd name, apologies. And then the 5 others, to round it up to 15, would be Texas boys. So that would make sense there. But if you take away the Texas boys, if they had already left, there's 10 people left. 10 familiar faces, 10 friends to Noah Presgrove. Now, did all 10 of them have their own vehicles? No, not exactly. At least to my knowledge, Isaac and Mikey didn't. As for Brylan, a bit uncertain, because some said he turned up in his own vehicle, but he left in Caden's. So who took Brylan's car back home? I don't know. Kaden had his red Cherokee. Jack had a Ford Ranger. Carter, designated driver, so she had her own vehicle. Avery, the same, had her own vehicle. Jasmine, not too sure about her. So out of the 10 people, how many vehicles were left? And out of those vehicles, did Noah Presgrove try climbing into any of them? Because if he did, and if those partygoers never left up until maybe post-news of Noah's death, well then it can't link to the theory or concept of Noah, in the back of the vehicle, moving and then falling out. The only way that could be possible, to my knowledge on the spot, would be it has to be to do with a Texas boy or Texas boys at a time of when the vehicles were still present. And that can still ring true and be possible, considering what Alicia said is partially wrong. That not before 2:30, but after 2:30, 2 minutes later, there was still proof to say a Texas boy was present. If there's any more Snapchat footage, if there's any video footage which comes public, such as that side-by-side rollover which Kaden Pressy saw a photo of from a video, if Kaden was able to identify the faces or something within the video and say, oh, they're Texas boys, then that links back to what Robin said, 5 total Texas boys at the party, then links directly more so to Jack saying there was 5 to 6 passengers. You can piece it all together like that. It might not sound strong enough to put that point across, but it's just about making links. And I do believe it's quite valid to do so in that way. So basically, if Texas boys are still there after 2:30, it might link back to what Stevie Howard once said about Texas boys leaving after 3:30. But there might be some conflict, because I think some people in the community or on my channel had said that Texas boys assisted with the girls when searching for Noah Presgrove, and that would have been close to around 4 a.m. up to like 4:20, just before 4:30, because 4:30 is when some of them had got back, or at least there is proof and evidence of that. So it's about tying it together, and hopefully you remember it. So just to make use and acknowledge the markers what we have on screen, just for context, because it will link together. It's partially to do with Jack's timeline, but it's also incorporated when we saw those messages with BBC and whoever when talking about where certain pings were at or certain timestamps were at when searching for Noah, and trying to interpret it with the Texas boys as well, the presence of them, because besides what Stevie may have said once, I've not really seen other people make it clear as to the true time when they had left. So 11:30 p.m. Sunday night, Jack said he went to sleep with Carter. Now the thing is, Kaden Pressy said the same exact time when he claimed to have gone to sleep in the past in a private conversation. Turned out it was wrong. Same with Jack. Both as bad as each other, but not the end of the world. Though some people will be more harsh on Jack for the inconsistencies than Kaden Pressy, but they're both the same with the time and the mistakes. Jack then said 1 in the morning, then changed it to 2 in the morning. That's the only problematic one. A second mistake. Kaden did his own second mistake, as in the actual time of when he went to sleep compared to when he didn't, and when he woke up and when he didn't. When you compare the police interview to the parts in True Crime one, it's a bit of a mess, right? And I've demonstrated it many times. 3 in the morning onwards, supposedly, side-by-side rollover, shower, washed by 2 girls, teabagging, being fed, bedroom debacle, then 3:30, Noah left, heading east, Logan supposedly wanted to see Noah wandering off. And maybe with a verbal fight in between. 5:30, Jack awake. 5:53, Jack texts father, meet at the lake ramp, Wairika. Drives on down, around 6 in the morning, comes across Noah. 5 minutes later, makes a call to her father, Caleb, about the death of Noah, to come on down. And then from there on, I guess Jack goes back to the house to alert everybody the news. We have kind of skipped ahead, but I just wanted to acknowledge what these were. And an estimate mentioned by Jack without the full context from the screenshot between Justin Roy's text on Facebook, 4 in the morning when Noah supposedly had passed away. We didn't get the full screenshot of it, which is very annoying. So when dialing it back to the actual search, Noah walks away at 3:30 East. And then close to 4 in the morning, or near to, a search is conducted by a range of people. But did that involve Jack Newton? No, he was asleep. Did it involve Carter Combs though? Yes. So Carter, what? Carter decided to just go off and search without alerting Jack, maybe because Carter didn't want to worry Jack or didn't want to disturb him because he was asleep. That's understandable, out of respect. But then at the same time, if it's your best friend that could be missing and there's a level of concern to go searching, you'd think other people would wake you up just to let you know what's going on. Unless they thought, well, Jack's not going to be fussed anyway, because at least at 5:30, when woken up by Jasmine Millan, supposedly, amongst the news and what's had previously happened, Jack just played it off and said, oh, well, Noah's probably in a field somewhere or just probably elsewhere and he'll come back when it gets too hot. So Jack wasn't fazed by it. So maybe that's why partygoers didn't tell Jack earlier, or at least Carter, amongst with being asleep too. Just these little details along the way, right? If we go over here, such as this one, 4:15 or 4:20, there was a phone ping, and that was to do with Avery Combs or Avery Howard, the birthday girl, and Brylan Sweat searching about in their own vehicle. I'm guessing Avery was driving, Brylan was the passenger, and they were at the Sandplank crossing between 4:15 or 4:20 when it occurred, the ping. But at 4:22, Carter Combs, Logan Jernigan and Jasmine Millan specifically returned back to the house after searching. With that being 4:22, and this being at the possible latest 4:20, was Avery and Brylan still out searching, whilst Carter, Logan and Jasmine at that time of 22 had already returned back to the house? Did they all return back to the house at the same time, or did some stay out longer? Did some go back to the house and then others went back out to search? To what extent exactly? It can be backed up with hard evidence in a way that Carter and at least Carter and Logan made it back at that time, because about 8-9 minutes later, at 4:30, you had that Snapchat post inside of the party house of Carter and Logan posing to the camera. Nothing too deep, but just posing. And Carter had a glass of water, I think, considering they were the designated driver. So I could be wrong, but about 4:22, Carter, Logan and Jasmine returned back. Before that, when they were out and about searching, were they at the same location where Avery and Brylan was? And if they're in their own vehicle, then likely Carter was driving because she was considered the designated driver. So if you got Carter in a vehicle, you got Avery and hers, what were the Texas boys doing? Because I did see some comments by people online saying that the Texas boys were assisting the girls, giving them a ride around, when driving to help search, make the efforts. How true is that, though? I mean, how hands-on were the Texas boys? Okay, cleared, innocent from what Robin says. But did they play a role in helping to search for Noah, or were they already gone by then? If they were already gone by then, but they weren't gone at 2:30 or before, they were still thereafter. If a couple or one had left just after when Noah walked away, it can link to the concept of Noah falling out the back of a vehicle. As long as Texas boys are present at the party just after 3:30 or so, and maybe for 10-20 more minutes, and then if any Texas boys had left, it does give Noah the opportunity to get into one of the vehicles of the Texas kids and then relax and nod off. Then it gives the chance for the Texas person or people to get into that vehicle unknown and drive off, because their intent is to get back home, and Noah's oblivious to it. From Alicia's perspective and Kaden's, if the Texas boys had already gone much earlier, when Noah walked away heading east, there likely would be no more vehicles down that road, no vehicles to climb into or rest. So it wouldn't be possible for Noah to get into a vehicle and then be driven off unknown to him, because the only other people that would be remaining at the party, they just didn't leave until much later. So it just wouldn't link. So it's good that we've got some hard evidence to show that Alicia was wrong, and if she's wrong about that, or on behalf of Kaden wrong about that, then what else are they wrong about too? It can have a knock-on effect. If there's anything else that's been missed out, or things you would like to add in, be sure to leave a comment down below. And speaking of them, I probably should catch up with the previous YouTube video that I did, because it has been a little bit active. Let's start off down at the bottom. And if we do come across the comment thread chain, which is the most important part, we'll leave till the end. And it just so happens that that's the case there. So we'll get to that a bit later. +1, once again with the hashtag consistent. Shout out to +1 for being a viewer and watching along the way. Appreciated. No words. Sometimes it's probably best no words from you, Cleo, because you don't make much sense at times, giving me a headache. We got Mark. In my opinion, I'm sure Noah appreciates you, WarLike Wrath. Appreciate that. Shout out to Mark as well. Glenn, shout out to Glenn. Jam Sandwich, best username out there. Thank you for your continued coverage. You're welcome. Appreciate you still being here. And on top of that, Jam says, Jack Newton did mention a white vehicle. I can't remember if he described it further, as in a truck, van, or car. I would have to go back through the things to see if I can find it. Interesting. I thought he said car and it drove off, but I'm not 100% sure without double checking. And then Brenda, hi Jam, I recall Jack mentioning a white car. I think you're right about it being driven away. That's what I remember. The thing, what I remember, not so much what Jack said, but what some people said online, maybe on behalf of another person. That's just from my memory. A white car ended up showing up, stopped, passenger got out with a pair of white shorts, went up to the body, switched them and took the black shorts away, and then drove off. Seems really weird and odd that. Who would think of that, or how did that come about? As for the origins, I'm unknown, uncertain of. But what Jam's saying here is important, and is it what Brenda says a bit later? And we could probably do an update on it, and with the language too. WN says, why did Jack Newton still go fishing after his friend died? Well, to my knowledge, that did not happen. There was going to go fishing, but then when hearing about the news of Noah's death, it was called off. I still think the golf club still had something to do with it. That's why they can't find them. I think if that's the case, if that's what you believe, that the golf clubs were involved and that's why they've gone missing, well then wouldn't that apply to the sunglasses, the hat, the tank top, the wallet, etc., Noah's other shoe, all those items which have never been returned back to the family, but some people online have said they have been returned back to the family. Yet the victim's family, not one of them, has acknowledged it online and said, we do have it. None of them. So it's a major problem. Julianne, I don't think he went fishing on that morning trip. They were there, him and his dad, not fishing afterwards. Yeah. We got Lisa. The police are hiding something. Is that Sam? This kid deserves resolution. We got Johnny Catbird. Shout out to Johnny again for being present. June, did you say they were checking out Chris's truck at his home? Well, I just said a garage. May have been his, may have been someone else's. I think they would tow it to the police yard, fair enough. But it did look like it was done indoors at least. And no one got the license plate number of the white van. I guess not, which is disappointing. Someone called Just Listening says, blah, blah, blah. Well, their username doesn't quite check out to what they're actually saying in their comment. But thank you for being a statistic and watching my video. Brenda, good video, WarLike Wrath, a van. We need more information on the supposed van. And others have said it's a car. And there's a big difference between a van and a car. A simple car and a pickup truck and a service truck and a semi-truck, all different shapes and sizes. So Brenda and the other person back was wondering about it. I'll do a follow-up video. Might be a small one, but a follow-up video in regard to additional context. I'll do that as soon as possible. Shout out to Dave. If the white van had been there for a number of days prior to Noah's death, then OHP would have undoubtedly known about it. They likely have to patrol that stretch of the road periodically. I wouldn't know personally, but it's a fair observation to make. If it's been present there before and it's been known of, then why didn't police take action sooner, depending on how many days it was there for? Why was it not moved on sooner? It does make you think. But Chris's comment about it being there for a few days, Chris didn't make it clear as to whether it was days before Noah's death or days after Noah's death. Right, with that being said, we can get into the comment thread down here. Lilia said, how is it never seen before, or never before seen, when it was posted 2 days ago? Well, based on that basis, when I saw that post at the time, as in instant reaction, we're all seeing it, supposedly, or most of us, for the very first time. I was going to do a video on that day with that title, but I just didn't have time, and there was some other breaking news to cover. So I kept the title name and stuff, because technically it's not been seen before. Well, to my knowledge. Forget the face palms. Okay, so never seen before it was posted. Not never before seen period. But this is where it gets interesting, the main part. George says, these have been seen before. The actual video, the extended conversations, etc. Other names too. The point being that they should never have been made public by anyone. But Michael Felon, FazeCaz, does what he does best. His felon instincts kicking in. So does Chris Pyatt know about Michael's background? Guess what? 1,000% he doesn't. Right. Okay. I mean, normally when I do my videos and it's never been seen before, I'm referring to the general public, the majority of people out there that normally wouldn't have access to it. Okay. You might get a few people here and there that do have the fingers in the pies, that do have the background conversations and been able to see it firsthand themselves. So maybe to George or to a few people out there, they have been seen before, but in the eyes of the general public, the majority, never been seen before. And if some of it has been seen before, but the odd photo or video, which is very important, hasn't, then it hasn't been seen before. If I went into the specifics in titling my videos, there just wouldn't be enough space to, there's only 100 characters what you can fill into the title of the video. Okay? These have been seen before by a select few people, correct? But the majority have never seen it. That is what I was getting at by the video title of mine, okay? But we'll probably get more into that later. Emmanuel. Let's see. Lots of things have been made public that shouldn't have been, including Kaden Pressy's police interview. And Alicia is partially to blame for that, for sharing it with some of her friends or people that she trusted, who then stabbed her in the back after. Yeah? For one, multiple private conversations from Justin. You will then go on to day Alicia or Justin shared them with multiple people. Tim Daniel goes on to say he shared it with 2 people, including Joyce. So he shared this conversation first. What's good for the goose and all that. I mean, there'll be other stuff out there which has been shared and passed on, but you'd think at some point, not learning from lessons, more so learning from mistakes, or if you've been screwed over once, you try and learn from it, but maybe that doesn't always happen. Emmanuel says, we're now at the point where WarLike Wrath is now basing his videos of Noah's case on Michael Facecas's work, spends an hour or 2 breaking down each post from the Presgrove project. Well, the last time I did a video over 2 hours, there's not been that many of them. I don't think this video will be over 2 hours. George to Emmanuel. Michael and Justin started the entire sharing private conversation thing, and then it came back to bite them hard, with a bite that'll keep on biting them for years to come. Alicia's cheating bricks, she's being sued, and there's another lawsuit on the way. Let her juggle the retainers with her mortgage payments. I said, well, some months I spent covering it from the light side in the early days, and then some months covering it from the dark side, and now specific points of views, and I can't win. Emmanuel says, now you're covering it from Michael's post and breaking down every word he writes. That's all if he's researched and hard work. But I'm not being rude, so don't be offended. No, I'm just saying this is not your analysis, it's his. I'm only on your page for live chat and the tea. Watching them lot sink and dog more. Okay. Michael has done his analysis, and at times he may misunderstand something, so I step on in and analyse his analysis. That does exist. It is possible. Emmanuel. Looks like it's only biting Donna Bond hard and BBC hard, and also the party host and their family hard. Michael, Jen Fiorillo, Justin, and co aren't acting the way y'all are. I think you're next, to be honest, in regard to George, but your tour router keeps you under the radar, you think. You're very much wrong, that's facts. I have a strong feeling authorities are onto you. Guess how they know this? You've been saying for a long minute it's coming back, this is happening, so is that. I have news for you, it's not happening. I suspect you know what is about to happen though, don't you? Also, speaking of analysing someone's analysis of something, whilst that is possible and valid, if you go on YouTube, you can see YouTube React videos where there's a funny video which has been posted online, then another creator watches it and records themselves reacting to it, laughing and joking and giving commentary. Then there's other people out there that will watch a video of the original reactor reacting to the original video at hand, and it's like a chain reaction, and it can go on and on and on and on. So, you could get it where Michael Facecas does his own analysis, I give my analysis of Michael's analysis, and then another person out there comes along and does an analysis of my analysis, analysing Michael's Facecas analysis. It does happen. But before we add on, in terms of what George was getting at, it's been seen before, or some of it has, video too. What video of the police conducting their search on the vehicle? If so, okay. But it does come back down to if the majority of the general public have not seen it and they've not had access to it, then it is important when they do get to see it. It might not be under the correct circumstances. People may be stabbed or screwed in the back along the way. I get that. But like with Kaden Pressy in that interview when it was leaked, partially caused by Alicia and those that received it and decided to spread it about like candy, the general public didn't suffer, but Kaden did because of the recklessness of others. It's unfortunate in that sense, but it did help the general public learn and then pick up on those discrepancies with Kaden and so on. And it was like a chain reaction. With Chris Pyatt, well, as we've heard it in words and convos and messages, it might not be enough to some people. They want to see it with hard evidence and proof. And they finally did. Maybe not under the right circumstances, but got to learn along the way. And it does help there. It's a positive. But if you do get people in between that may gatekeep information or claim to have seen it and say, you know, you got to believe me, it's true. And, oh, it has been seen before. But you can't expect the general public to just nod their heads. Sometimes the general public should be able to see it for themselves. Maybe they're not entitled, or maybe the material can't be shown public. But, you know, if select few get to see it and believe in it, then the general public at least have the right to believe in it once they've seen the hard evidence themselves, if it's ever possible. That's why when I've done my coverage with time, I've said what I've said, and if I couldn't share it with you, I've summarised it from my thoughts, my visions, what I saw, what I actually saw, and wrote it down on paper as like a quote, a note, and then passed it on to you in a video to avoid certain issues, you know, to avoid and respect for people's privacy. But I did make it very clear that if you don't believe in it, that's understandable, okay? Because it's coming from my mouth, my voice. You may want to see it firsthand. You may want to see the real thing, and that makes complete sense, but it might not be available. So you've got to deal with the second best thing, which is an account of someone that has seen it. But that person that has seen it shouldn't have the entitlement or the expectation that everybody should just nod their heads and go along with it. So it's one of those subjects where at times, and in true crime cases, there will always be select a few that get a hold of information or material or photos, videos, texts, and that's all good and fine, but they can't have that mentality of expecting the general public just to nod their heads without actually seeing it themselves too. It kind of creates a bit of unbalance. Sometimes there can be a bit of gatekeeping too. The best outcome in this would have been the general public learn as they do, but before it's done, once Michael got a hold of it, if Michael then tracked back to Chris and said, Chris, could I possibly release it public if maybe this is blurred out, that's blurred out, just to show as proof that you are correct, just to show as proof this has happened and just to clear the rumours up, right? It can help, it can go a long way. But that wasn't considered, that didn't happen. I know sometimes you try reaching out to someone, they may not respond, you may be blocked by someone, they may not be active online. So how do you get permission? How do you get a response? Sometimes it's a bit tricky, but I guess Chris was still active because Chris did respond back on Michael's post at the time. So, a bit of a juggling act. Nevertheless, the importance and focus of today with what Alicia had said in the past on behalf of Kaden, and it's not exactly true because there was hard evidence to counter it. Does it mean that they're lying? Not really. Does it mean that they made a mistake at the time? Quite possibly. Hopefully this video does remain up. If by any chance the video is reported or taken down, you'll know why. Will we get a repeat of the past? Hopefully not. All this is an observation. All this is simply clearing it up along the way so there's less confusion. Just to reinforce points too, with hard evidence along the way. So that's always been needed, but not always available. So hopefully people do understand that. And if you did find the video somewhat interesting, be sure to hit the share button, the thumbs up, so there's more reach and more people get to see it. If you want to hit the hype button as well on mobile, that would be appreciated. My name's WarLike Wrath. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.